You're listening to Boomers Today with your host, Frank Sampson.
Well, welcome to Boomers Today. I'm your host, Frank Sampson. And of course, each week we bring you important and useful information on issues facing baby boomers, their parents, and other loved ones. And I can't thank you enough for all your support. Our listeners, I mention this every time, but I need to because I need to thank everybody. Our listeners grow each and every week, every day. And it's growing naturally just from your sharing podcasts with friends and family members to listen to them. And many of you then subscribe, which is no cost to subscribe, to get updated on a lot of the resources available to you and great education on caring for loved ones and other issues facing boomers. And our listeners are growing because we have great guests. And today is not going to be a disappointment at all. We have another great guest with us. We have with us Wendy Rinehart, who is co-founder of Family Solutions for Care, a leading consumer claims benefits company. She has been in the long-term care insurance industry for over 2 decades, part of that time with General Electric Capital Assurance. Together with her husband, David, they launched the consumer claims assistance industry, and with their team, they have helped thousands of families receive over $300 million of long-term care insurance benefits. Wendy, I can't thank you enough for joining us on Boomers Today. Really appreciate it.
I'm so honored to be here, and I love joining your team here and being a partner with Senior Care Authority, and seeing how we can best serve families together.
Great. Well, we talk. I've had many people on the show over the years on long-term care insurance, but never have we had anybody talking about long-term care insurance in the way we're going to discuss it today, because you have a very unique product. But before we get into that, or a unique service, I should say, but before we get into that, maybe, you've been in it quite a while. Maybe you could kind of give us the state of the long-term care insurance industry, maybe a little history. Where are we today, et cetera?
Absolutely. Yeah. The long-term care insurance industry was founded back in the late 1960s, but it really took off in the 1990s. A lot of insurance companies joined that market because all the baby boomers they knew were coming down the road. So the industry really took off and thrived during the 1990s and early 2000s. And 2008 happened, and there were some things that happened in the industry that kind of turned the industry upside down. So the stock market didn't do as well as the industry thought it would do. And a funny thing, people held on to their long-term care policies when the insurance industry predicted 5% of them would drop their policies. That's not what happened. It was more around the area of 2%. And people started going on claim and staying on claim longer than they were expected to. So those are all pro things from a consumer perspective. But so a lot of the insurance industry got scared around 2008 and left the long-term care market. Now I want to be real cautious here and say there are billions of dollars right now set aside to pay claims for those insurance companies that got out of the market. They still have to pay claims. And there are some new products now on the market. So we went from 200 companies selling long-term care insurance to now less than 10, but we're starting to see some rebirth, some new growth in the market. So we're seeing there's still some traditional long-term care policies out there, and I still recommend them. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, I'm sure, in a few minutes. But there's also some great short-term policies, because what people are finding is that they have an immediate short-term need for cash to help in a long-term care situation. And there are some whole life policies that are great, and we see how to work with them when people have claims, and they work beautifully.
If I could just interrupt for a second. So I know you mentioned whole life. I mean, there are I don't know what it's called exactly. You could correct me on the term, but kind of a hybrid or combination policy of life insurance and long-term care. That's what you're referring to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
which makes
those
a
are
lot of
great
sense.
policies.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense from a risk
Yeah.
standpoint for the insurance companies.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But families love them, and they love the idea that they will get the benefits in one way or another.
Right. Right. So it's interesting. You used the term that some of these companies got scared. Why did they get scared?
Um, because there were more claims going on. They were starting to pay out billions of dollars worth of claims, and they realized they had not priced the products correctly. So there's been a huge reset. But some of the major players, you mentioned General Electric. General Electric got out of the market back in 2003, 2004. They spun off a company called Genworth. So now those old GE policies are actually Genworth policies. And then Genworth got out of the market a few years ago. So it just wasn't a profitable enough base for them. I have a background in social services. So I believe long-term care insurance is a great thing for people to have. It gives people options, dignity, choices at the worst time of their life. But from the insurance company, I kind of understand they had to regroup and figure out how to price these products so that it was a profitable product for them and a good product for the consumers. And I think we're seeing like I said, a rebirth of that.
Yeah, I think that the fact that they were scared and wanted to get out, it also tells for those that are listening to this, that there's such a demand for it, that it actually was a greater demand than even they thought.
That's exactly right. I was blessed to I actually became #1 salesperson in the country for General Electric. And I was so passionate about giving people choices after being through care in my own family, people having a long-term care product. So I think the top salespeople in the long-term care market really passionately believed that we were providing a great service for families. And it wasn't just a product, it was we're going to give you a better lifestyle or a better quality of life when you get to the point in your life where you can no longer fully take care of yourself. So the salespeople really understood that, and I really hate the word sales, but the people that were providing these products really believed in it. Once it actually started happening, that we realized we were all right. It is a huge need. People need to plan ahead for long-term care, and long-term care insurance is still a great product in whatever format people decide is right for them financially. There are traditional products, there's whole life products, universal life products, there's asset-based, but they all, as long as they cover long-term care, that's what people need to be looking for, some kind of way to handle these very high, expensive times. Because when it's happening, it's too late to plan for it.
So somebody who is in the thinking stage right now of getting long-term care insurance, they've heard, oh, it's expensive, all that sort of stuff, but they start looking at how much it costs for long-term care, and maybe I'm going to consider this. Where should they start? Are there companies that they should be considering? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think they need to talk to a specialist that specializes specifically in long-term care insurance, and somebody that offers a sort of an umbrella of policies based on the consumer's financial needs. So really not just a general financial planner, but actually a long-term care specialist. So I would reach out to someone who specializes specifically in long-term care insurance. We are always happy to refer to our friends that are still in the long-term care insurance sales side of the industry, because we still see a huge need and we still believe that it's a great product.
So what are some of the key points you think that that people should be looking at when evaluating long-term care insurance policy?
I think obviously looking at what kind of daily benefit should they look at and include an inflation rider. We have seen, since we started Family Solutions for Care over 10 years ago, we have seen that a lot of people did not buy enough benefit coverage, or they bought a benefit that didn't include an inflation rider. So making sure that you understand, this is when you need to talk to a specialist, but making sure that you understand what your market is. So what is the cost of care in your area? Right now, we are seeing some assisted living facilities are running $10,000 to $15,000 a month in expense, and depending on the area of the country, and some are running $5,000 or $6,000 a month. So there's quite a range. So you need to understand what your local market is, and then you need to look at what's the difference between what you could comfortably pay out of pocket and what the cost of the care is. So a lot of people don't need to buy a policy that's Cadillac. They just need to buy something that will cover the differences. So there should be a daily benefit or a monthly benefit that is equal to or roughly close to where they're living or where they're going to choose to live. It should have some kind of inflation rider that will grow with it so that you don't lose value. Because if you still end up having to apply for Medicaid after buying a very expensive long-term care policy, then that hasn't been a good plan. Right. So, and most people are buying policies that are 3 to 5 years of duration. It used to be, when I was selling back for GE, we had policies that were unlimited, and a lot of people bought those policies. And there were a lot of unlimited or lifetime benefits. Those are hard to come by now. But I think if somebody just covers the averages, the average amount of care, they're going to be in good shape of protecting their assets, protecting their family, getting the dignity that they were looking for. But so just a 3 to 5 year benefit pool is 99% of the time enough coverage for a family.
Great. So let's talk Family Solutions for Care. Talk to us where you fit into this process now. So somebody evaluates it, they get a long-term care insurance policy. They let's just say they may have a claim, it's and I should say, I know you refer to assisted living and the cost for assisted living, but long-term care insurance also covers if somebody needs care at home. It also covers Absolutely. That. Yeah. Yes. So for those people going, I'm not going anywhere, but
yeah, that's a very good point,
yeah,
Frank. Yes.
Yeah. So home care is also covered under that, right?
Yes. Yeah, there is kind of people get the idea that long-term care insurance in their mind means a facility, an assisted living facility, right, or a nursing home. And what I certainly recommend is a policy that's more comprehensive, that will allow that consumer, that senior, to age where they want to age and what the best situation is for them.
Yeah.
So where do we fit in the picture? Well, again, I have a not-for-profit background, a social services background. I worked for the American Red Cross prior to selling insurance. Long-term care insurance works. I absolutely recommend it. We recommend it. Still buy it. Just like though people hire accountants to help them with their taxes, or people hire an attorney to help do financial planning. Getting long-term care insurance benefits can be complicated when things are already complicated. So we provide a service to help families understand what they have in a long-term care policy, but we also go into a pretty deep discussion about what's really going on with the client, so we can help them understand next steps and what they can reasonably expect out of a policy moving forward based on what they've shared with us. There are times when we've received phone calls from families who want to use their policy and they're just really not claim eligible yet. It just seemed like a convenience thing. So we educate families realistically what to expect moving forward and whether or not we believe the claim will be approved based on what they've shared with us.
Got it. Got it. Well, that's an important part of this. And what I'm going to do, we're going to take a real quick break, Wendy, just to recognize our sponsor. And we come back, we're going to talk about that as far as why wouldn't somebody get approved to file a claim, and when is it the best time to file a claim, things like that. So when we come back, we'll get into more specifics. So I ask all of you, do you know anybody who may be concerned about an older driver? Well, Senior Care Authority's Beyond Driving with Dignity program is a facilitated self-assessment program for older drivers. This program has been designed to serve as a vital tool to facilitate older drivers and their families as they make appropriate decisions regarding the future of one's safe driving career. If the individual is a safe driver, an advisor will provide him or her with strategies on how to remain a safe driver as they progress through the aging process. If driving retirement is the appropriate decision, then the individual and their family are offered possible alternatives, resources, and a specific plan to ensure a smooth and successful transition from the driver's seat to the passenger seat. So to learn more, you could go to www.beyonddrivingwithdignity.com. That's www.beyonddrivingwithdignity.com, or you can call 877-907-8841 to connect with a Senior Care Authority advisor in your area. We're back with Wendy Rinehart, who's the co-founder of Family Solutions for Care, a leading consumer claims benefits company. So, Wendy, maybe before we get into some additional questions, maybe you could share with our listeners just a little bit about Family Solutions for Care, contact information, website, whatever you like. It's commercial time.
My pleasure. We are FamilySolutionsForCare.com. That's our website. Our phone number is 844-858-4500. So visit us on our website, FamilySolutionsForCare.com, or call us at 844-858-4500. And we are here to listen and help families that oftentimes are extremely overwhelmed by the time they reach us. They've been in frustrated mode for quite a while with the insurance company.
Great. So let's talk about that. So now somebody's made this investment into a long-term care insurance policy. It's time to, that maybe they do need care at home or they need to move into assisted living. Why would people get pushback? What are some of the things that could disqualify them? I mean, obviously you have a company that just does this, so it must happen quite often.
It happens a lot. It happens a lot more, and I don't want to scare people because I still believe and love the industry. But having to have professional help get your benefits is just sometimes part of the process. People get denied for two big reasons. Well, let me back up and tell you one thing. There are 400,000 variations of these long-term care policies that have been issued since the beginning of the industry. There's no standard or uniform coding. So it's not like health insurance or Medicare, where there's just a checkbox and there's a code. It is really subjective interpretation of the contract, and then that leads to subjective interpretation of medical documentation. So with that being said, the two big problems in getting claims approved is, number one, documentation. Documentation by the senior's primary doctor, their specialist, a hospital, a skilled nursing home, day-to-day caregivers. Everyone that comes in contact with that senior has to document the care that person needs and is receiving in the exact same manner as the policy is written. And because there are so many variations of policies, these professional people that are good-hearted people because they're healthcare workers, they don't know the nuances that are in these different contracts. So documentation is everything. And one of the big reasons that claims get denied is because oftentimes the day-to-day caregivers do not document standby care. They document hands-on care. And that does not seem like a very big difference, but is a huge difference because most, in fact, long-term care policies will pay for standby care. Someone's still fairly independent, but in order to keep them independent, they need somebody near them in case they were to have any problems so they don't fall. So that's standby care. That doesn't often get documented correctly by the caregivers, not on purpose, but just it doesn't. Or even the primary doctors, neurologists, oncologists, none of them usually document it correctly. The second challenge kind of leads to what we've already talked about, and that is the insurance industry. As I said, most of the insurance companies got out of the long-term care market. Some are now coming back into the market. They still must pay claims, and they all realize that. They have hired third-party administrators, for the most part, to handle the long-term care claims from the insurance company's perspective. And these third-party administrators that work for the insurance companies, they're not bad people either. They're good people. They are processing a claim within the confines of what is given to them in the medical records and what they can see on their screens as a question. So there's a backlog in claims. So many people are going on claim right now. So to try to get into one of these call centers to reach somebody is often a 40-minute to an hour wait time. So again, two big problems. They work hand in hand: documentation and the insurance industry. And I'm not saying anybody's bad. It's a complicated, very detail-oriented process that must be completed, or it gets kicked back to a family member. And then the family member has to do more work. And more often than not, the family member just throws in the towel and says, forget it, this is too hard to do. I'm not even going to try. The insurance companies are terrible. So we're here to say insurance companies aren't terrible, but they are right. There are a lot of steps to do in order to get and keep a claim approved every single month.
So that example you gave where they might throw in the towel. So if somebody says, there are people that thrive on doing that sort of stuff. I'm gonna get all this information and I'm gonna show them or whatever. And then you got people that go, I don't want to deal with this. This is just too stressful. So could they just turn that over to you to say, take care of this? Does the insurance company allow you to be the spokesperson for them?
They do. And I want to clarify, we at Family Solutions Care, we no longer sell long-term care insurance. So we're, cleanly on the other side. But yes, if a family, we do a free review of their situation, including a long-term care policy review. And if they choose to hire us, they are literally handing it off to us. And we then, we get a HIPAA form, we get the authorization signed so that we can talk directly to the insurance company on a family's behalf. And when we're involved, as you can imagine, because this is our specialty, we have a much, much higher success rate than a family does when they're trying to do it on their own. So in families that work with us, love our team. They are assigned one person to work with them in the whole process of getting the claim approved. And then most families renew with us because once they go through this, the first year, they realize, okay, she was right. It's complicated. We're glad we have it because this was a lot of benefit money to get, but I don't have the time to take that on. So they just keep hiring our team. And we have an amazing group of very caring women. Most of our team is women, but they're very caring, nurturing people that just understand what these families are going through. And they really take it personally, and we become part of the family.
Right. So give us, certainly I don't expect you to name anybody, but maybe some examples of cases that you've dealt with where someone either, got denied and came to you and you were able to fix it? Give us maybe
Absolutely.
a couple of examples of what happened.
Yeah.
So people
So
understand.
I'll give the first example, and that is of my brother. My brother bought a long-term care policy from me and only had it for about a year, became ill, and he had terminal cancer. I tried to get his claim approved. So you're listening to the genesis of why Family Solutions for Care exists. So I tried to get his claim approved. My first conversation with the insurance carrier representative was dreadful. Of course, I was in a highly emotional state, as are all of our families. But the person at the call center that took my call did not understand how his policy worked. And so they sent out a denial letter immediately. I had to go around that entry-level claim person and go to the insurance company directly and get the right people working on the job. So part of it is we know who to talk to. So we know the industry, we know the key players. But we have thousands of families. We receive thousands of referrals every single month from all over the country. Yesterday, I spoke with a family who has a policy. Now, this doesn't happen very often, but she did not know, but she's been taking care of her mother for 6 years, and her mother has a policy that would have paid her to take care of her mother for the last 6 years. So they have hired us to go back as far as possible to get the benefits that she's already been doing. We had another family that the daughter called us and said, my father literally had a heart attack and died fighting the insurance company. She hired us to take care of her mother's claim, and we were able to get that family $140,000 and in one check. That was their first check. And then we were able to go backwards, and the father actually had some claims. So we were able to get that family another $50,000. So I don't like to say that every policy or everybody that comes to us is a denied claim. A lot of the times, in fact, most of our clients are busy men and women that maybe own their own business or work still, and they're trying to figure out how to sell the house, move mom, find a place for the cat, close down businesses.
Time is
all of it.
right.
Yes. So they will hire us just simply because we're good at what we do, and they don't have the time to address it. The people that have come to us that are denied, it's not that the insurance companies did anything wrong. Again, I want to keep coming back to that. It's that there's just so many moving parts to the claim, and all the medical records, plans of care, care assessments, daily care notes, and itemized invoices all have to match every month. And that's because there's no uniform coding. It has to be combed through every single month in order to get these benefit dollars.
Yeah, that's, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
We've never had a family, again, I want to just keep saying that the long-term care insurance works. It's just one kind of insurance that's counting on a primarily senior audience and their family to navigate through a very complex process when the wheels are falling off the bus. So hiring our team just gives them back it lets the kids be kids again, and the time that they have left with their loved one, it gets to be not fighting an insurance company, but actually quality. And that's what families tell us. If you go to our website, we get love letters from families. People send us, they're so grateful for what our team has been able to help them through, that it's humbling, and it encourages us to offer more services and reach more families.
You said something earlier that I think is very important to give a little more explanation on, and we're kind of almost out of time, but I think it's important enough to address. You mentioned that there was a family member taking care of another family member, and that can qualify as a claim, even though they may not be a paid caregiver. Is that correct?
That is correct on some policies. I want to be very clear. That is not the norm. That is why it is so important. So I'm glad you brought this up. When people read a schedule of benefits from a long-term care policy, they are missing 99% of the policy. The schedule of benefits gives you a rough idea financially, but it does not really tell you what the other 42 pages of the policy cover. We know what we're looking for. So when we're reading a policy, we're looking for 75 key points. But one of the points is on some policies, family members can be paid to take care of their loved ones. So if they left a paid job, they could be paid then because they're the best person situated to take care of their loved one. But it's not always true. You have to read every single page of those contracts. So if I can leave people with anything, it is never file a claim until you have a complete copy of the full long-term care contract, not just the schedule of benefits.
Wendy Rinehart from Family Solutions for Care. Check it out, FamilySolutionsForCare.com. Wendy, thank you so much for joining us on Boomers Today. Wealth of information. Thank you.
My honor. Thank you.
Great. And thank you, everybody. Please be safe out there. We'll talk to everybody real soon.
You've been listening to Boomers Today with Frank Sampson. To learn more about today's show, visit boomerstodayradio.com and join us next time for another edition of Boomers Today.